Good morning, everyone. My name is Todd. I'm the Conservation Education Coordinator here at the Akron Zoo, and it is a very, very chilly day out compared to what we had this weekend. So we decided to bring you to see our snowy owl habitats. So we actually have two snowy owls, which they are kind of hanging out right now in the back. We actually have two of them. We have a male and a female. The male, his name is Frost, and he is 9 years old, and he was actually born in Germany, and then he went to Columbus, and now he is a resident right here at Akron Zoo. Now the other one in the back, which is a little bit bigger, that is Hedwig. Now Hedwig looks a little bit different from when you watch Harry Potter. When you watch Harry Potter and you see Hedwig, Hedwig is all white. So actually Hedwig here is the white one with the little black stripes on it. So the way to tell the difference between a male snowy owl and a female snowy owl, one of them is coloration. So if you look, the one on the left right there, that is Frost, and he is the male. And then the one on to the right, that is Hedwig, and she is the female. Another difference that you might see when looking at these guys is their size. In fact, if you wanted to be an owl, you would want to be a girl owl, because girl owls are much larger than the boys. In fact, boys, actually right there, Frost is roughly around 3 pounds, and Hedwig is roughly around 4 pounds. They can actually get all the way up to 6 pounds, the females. So you can see that they're really cool. Now, snowy owls are actually found in Ohio, usually during the winter months. In fact, during the winter months, snowy owls can range all the way from Canada all the way down to the middle of California, Texas, and they've been found all the way down south as far as Florida. Now, right now it is breeding season for these guys. May is the start of breeding season for snowy owls, and because it is kind of springtime out, these guys are usually found in western Alaska, all the way to Manitoba and Churchill, all the way through northern Quebec, and actually in northern Labrador in Canada. These guys are really, really beautiful animals. And the reason they are white is because they are found in the Arctic areas. Now these guys are very, very important to our habitat because these guys are predators and they do consume prey such as moles, shrews, voles, but their favorite thing in the world to eat are lemmings. All right. Now these guys actually, one owl can actually capture or take down 3 lemmings in one day. Okay, so think about that. 365 days a year. Believe it or not, they can consume over 1,600 lemmings in 1 year. So these guys are very important to the habitats in Canada and throughout Northern America, in North America. So you guys can get a nice look at them. Again, the male is the front one, which is all white, and then his name is Frost. He's 9 years old. And then Hedwig, we don't know her whole story. She was actually injured in her natural habitat, and she was rescued in Battle Creek, Michigan, where she was all better. She got all better, but because of possible certain injuries or maybe being a fledgling, she couldn't be released back into her natural habitat, so she got a second chance at life living right here at the Akron Zoo. And again, she's the female, which is the kind of the white one with the black and gray spots, or like the slats and all that kind of stuff. And you can see that she is considerably bigger than Frost as well. Presently, and in about a couple 30 seconds or so, I'm going to bring another owl out that we're going to talk to you about. And this owl is actually presently right here in Ohio, and it's one of the most common owls. So you guys can just check out Frost and Hedwig. If we're really quiet, maybe they'll come out and check you guys out as well.
So our snowy owls are very shy, which is why they're hanging out in the back right now, because they're not sure what's going on with us out here filming. So that's why they're hanging out back there. And like Todd mentioned, a lot of Harry Potter fans out there, in the movie, Hedwig is a female owl, but she was all white. So they did use a male snowy owl to play her in the movie because the female snowy owls are not completely white.
All right, guys. We got our little friend right here. She's a little shy right now, but can everyone say hi to Lorraine? Lorraine is cute, isn't she? Now, I have a question out there for all you guys. Who thinks Lorraine is a baby owl? If you do, make some noise at your home. Be really loud for your parents. Go ahead and hoot really loud. All right, now, who thinks Lorraine is an adult owl? If you think so, make even more noise. All right, well, in fact, Lorraine is full grown. In fact, she's really big for being an owl her size. She's actually called an eastern screech owl. All right, now Lorraine, that's kind of an interesting name for an owl, right? But the reason she got her name Lorraine is she was actually injured in Lorain, Ohio. And if you guys look at her, we'll have Elena actually focus right on her face. You guys are seeing something. How many eyes do owls most always have? They usually have two, but she's being a little shy right now. But Lorraine actually has only one eye. And she also has a broken beak as well. Unfortunately, she was hit by a car, all right? And the person that actually hit her was like, oh my gosh, I hit something, went outside and found that Lorraine actually broke her beak and it had some major injuries. So in fact, he called an animal warden where they actually took her to Medina Raptor Center, which is a great place to help rehabilitate wild animals, especially birds, and they got her all better. But unfortunately, because she got hit by that car, she lost her eye and she broke her beak. And because of that, she couldn't be sent out back into her natural habitat. So they got her all better, and then from there, she actually lives at the Akron Zoo now, where she gets to educate thousands and thousands of guests and children throughout the entire year. Now, if you do look at her beak, it is kind of broken, all right? However, when we first got her, she couldn't eat very well, so we actually had to cut up her little mice, kind of like baby food, and we had to feed her a little bit. Over time, we took the baby food and we made it bigger and bigger and bigger, just like a little kid actually starts eating cereal, and then they start eating big kid food, and then from there we started giving her a mouse, half a mouse, a quarter of a mouse, and then eventually, guess what? She can eat a whole mouse all by herself. So we didn't want to put braces on her or do anything that would be more damaging or ruin that relationship. So we just took little baby steps in order for her to get able to eat that whole prey. Now, screech owls are really cool because a lot of people think they're baby owls, but they're not. This is the biggest she's going to get. In fact, she is a female, and remember, females are usually a lot larger than males, and she weighs as much as a juice box. That's it. And the reason these guys are so light, birds actually have feathers, not to fly, but it's actually to keep them nice and warm and for camouflage. And if you look at her coloration, she's got beautiful grays, browns, beiges, whites. And if you look at the trees around here, guess what colors they are? They're the exact same coloration as Lorraine the screech owl. So she is really, really cool. She blends in. In fact, I guarantee all of you guys have these guys in your backyard. They are actually one of the most common owl species in all of Ohio. All right, now you guys can check her out. I'll actually move her this way so you guys can check her little feathers out, all that kind of stuff.
So Miranda is saying she has two owls that live in their backyard in their trees that leave in the winter and then come back. Where do they go?
They probably go hunting for prey, really. I mean, they're going to find different spots to go to where it might be. They're going to find wherever the food is. So wherever the food is, they're going to go. So these guys, since they are a smaller bird of prey, in the wintertime, they are going to feed upon mice, okay? However, there's a lot larger raptors out there like hawks and other bigger owls, and they're not going to be able to compete with those guys. So they're going to actually have to go try to find other things. However, it's springtime now, and it's almost summer. These guys aren't going to be able to compete with the red-tailed hawks and the barred owls and the barn owls. So these guys will actually start feeding upon crickets and grasshoppers and bugs. So they actually have a different way of eating, and these guys are really important because they actually control the insect population as well.
Now Danny wants to know, she said she heard that owls actually have long legs.
She does actually have long legs, but right now, because it's cold, basically she's actually tucking them underneath, and she feels more comfortable with my raptor glove where she wants to kind of grip onto that. And she also lives indoors, so right now being outside, it's probably like, ooh, this is a little chilly. Even though she is an owl and they're usually outside, she is very, very spoiled being an animal ambassador where she gets to live inside all the time, and we give her lots and lots of different things to play with, things to look at, listen to. Yesterday, she was actually watching some cartoons.
What's her favorite cartoon?
What's her favorite cartoon? I'm gonna say it's, I like Tangled, so she probably likes Tangled too. All right, so we're gonna actually show you another animal. Can everyone say goodbye to Lorraine? All right, and Lorraine doesn't actually hoot. She makes a kind of a whiny sound or a screech sound. So if you guys go outside, let me see if I can do it. They sound like this. They go, and it's kind of a twirling sound at the end. So if you guys go outside at nighttime, I guarantee you guys will be able to hear these guys. They're the most common owl species, and they actually are found sometimes by bird baths and all that. They'll take bird baths during the day as well. And this is a gray-faced screech owl. There are red-faced screech owls. The ones that we have around here, usually we have more grayish trees, so it's harder to find these guys as well. All right, can everyone say goodbye to little Lorraine? All right, so we're gonna focus back on to the snowy owls, and we have one more animal ambassador that we'll show you.
Doesn't look like they've come any closer while we were still talking, but they are very interested in what we are doing. Trying to get a closer look for you guys. Doesn't look like it's gonna work. Okay. Our next guest is so excited to come out here to see you guys. I don't know if you guys can hear that in the background, but that is actually the eagles talking.
All right, guys, we have actually the largest raptor predator here in Ohio. This is Hoot, and Hoot is actually called a great horned owl, okay? The snowy owls are actually a little bit larger than great horned owls, but natural predators for these guys are slim to none. But Hoot is actually sweet 16, okay? Unfortunately, Hoot was injured in his natural habitat. If you guys look at his left wing, it droops a little bit. Unfortunately, he hurt himself, and when he hurt himself, somebody found him again. Somebody found him, and they rescued him and brought him to a rehabilitation center. And when you brought him to the rehabilitation center, they got him all better, but they noticed that he couldn't fly really, really well. And when they put prey in there, trying to see if he could catch his prey, he couldn't get it. So if you put him back out into this natural habitat, he probably wouldn't be able to survive. So he got a second chance at life, living right here at the Akron Zoo. And he was actually found in Florida, all right? Now, Hoot is actually a smaller great horned owl because owls that live in Florida are generally a lot smaller than owls that live in Ohio, just because of the harsher climates that we have. Again, if you guys look at his face, he's called a great horned owl. A lot of people think that those are his ears. Those aren't his ears at all. They're just tufts of feathers to make him look really big, bad, and scary. In fact, his ears, if you look at his eyes, right behind his eyes, he has ears. And his ears are a little bit different because you guys can all probably stick your pinky into your ear hole. So everyone try that. Everyone put your ear, go like that. Your ear hole is probably the size of your pinky, but great horned owls, their ear holes are the size of a quarter. Those are huge ear holes, and they actually have one right there, and they actually have one right up there. They're actually offset. They're not perfectly symmetrical like our ears. And the reason for that is they actually use their hearing really, really well. So what they do is when they're hunting for their prey at nighttime, they'll just listen. And remember, they got oh, he actually sees the two snowy owls. Oh, he's like, oh man, those guys are big too. That's kind of cool. So what happens is he just listens. And when he listens, he hears the rustling of the leaves. And then from there, you guys can see those big old eyes. Check out those eyes. He can actually spot a prey item from one end of the Cleveland Browns football field all the way to the other end of the Cleveland Browns football field. So he listens for them. From there, he sees it, and then he flies. And as he flies, guess what? The predator, or the prey, such as a mouse or a squirrel, can't hear it. Because if you guys look at their feathers, you can go real close there. You'll see little cuts in them, all right? Those little cuts actually absorb the wind. So these guys are silent flyers. So when they fly, no one can hear them. And then from there, once he gets as close as possible, you can focus on those big old talons right there. Those are his claws. On a raptor, we call them talons. They are extremely strong and sharp, all right? The glove that I have here has 3 layers of leather, all right? So what happens is, once he grabs onto that prey, those sharp talons go right into that animal, pierce right through the bones and all that, and then we call it death grip. They lock onto the place, and you can't release it. You could take the strongest guy in the world, like John Cena, and try to pry open those talons, and you're not going to be able to do it. They're kind of like ratchets. Once they lock into place, nothing gets released, and then from there, they get to eat, and then they eat. If you look at those sharp talons and that sharp beak, they basically devour everything. They devour the bones, the fur, but eventually they can't digest the bones and the fur. And if you're in 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th grade, when you guys go back to school next year, guess what? You'll probably be dissecting owl pellets. And it's a really cool detective work because we actually find owl pellets at the Akron Zoo in our back 40. And then what we can do is we can take those during camp time and actually dissect them. And when we do that, we can find out what type of bird maybe got it, okay? Most likely it would probably be a great horned owl. And then when we dissect it, we can find out what type of animal they were eating. It could be a bird, it could be a mouse, it could be a squirrel. Now speaking of eating, these guys are one of the largest raptors here in Ohio. They basically eat anything. They eat mice, they eat squirrels, chipmunks, groundhogs. Believe it or not, they're known to take on little dogs and cats if they really want to, so be very careful about that. These guys, if there is no prey around, they're known to eat red-tailed hawks, and they can eat actually each other. They'll actually take on and eat one of their smaller cousins as well. These guys are efficient predators. They are awesome. Now, have you guys ever heard the phrase, the wise old owl? You might have, but unfortunately, owls aren't very wise at all. They're actually not very smart. They're efficient predators. And the reason for that is if you guys look at their eyes, they have huge eyes. If you were an owl, your eyeballs would be the size of a grapefruit or a softball in your head. So if you have that big of eyes, and remember their ears, they're the size of a quarter. If you have huge ears, huge eyes, how much room is left for a brain? Not a lot. In fact, they're not very smart animals, but they are awesome predators. When they find a prey item, they will hunt, and that's unfortunately what happened to Hoot. He saw a prey item across the street. As he was flying, he got actually probably hit by a vehicle, and that's actually how he injured his wing. Now, if you guys look at him, he is a big, big animal. In fact, Hoot only weighs 3 pounds, all right? The snowy owls over there, they only weigh about 4 pounds. And remember, little Lorraine only weighed maybe a half a pound. The reason for that is birds that fly, they have hollow bones. They're like straws that we drink out of. So if you guys look at them, you guys can see all the beautiful feathers. The feathers are there for camouflage, and they're there to keep them nice and warm. Now if you also look at their feet, you guys can see that there's feathers on Hoot's feet, right? He always has socks on. Owls, most owls all have feathers on their feet. And the reason for that is, there you go, come on Hoot. There you go. Or not. We're gonna head back. There we go. He's all better now. All right, you guys can look at his feet right there. They're actually built-in socks, okay? So when it's nice and cool out and cold in the winter, he actually will stay nice and warm. It's really, really cool. All right.
Danny wants to know if owls can be pets.
Owls cannot be pets, okay? Any type of native animal in Ohio or anything like that cannot be good pets. In fact, the best pet to get is, guys, listen to this. It's a rescue dog or a cat from a local shelter, or believe it or not, ask your parents to have another baby brother and sister. That could be a good one as well, all right? Pets, actually, when you think of pets, you want to go to a local rescue for a dog or a cat. Basically, owls don't make good pets. Birds, like parrots, they're a lot of work. It's like having a 3-year-old for the next 50 years. So if you are going to go to a pet store, the best thing to do is buy the local products from those pet stores, but try to encourage yourself not to actually buy those pets. There's always lots of rescues out there. And even the reptiles that you might see, like the bearded dragons, it takes a lot of work. You got to do a lot of research if you're going to do something like that. But owls do not make good pets.
So Lexi wants you to know that there was a sighting of a great horned owl in West Akron. She hasn't seen it yet, but she's heard it.
You're going to be able to, and when you think of the owls that hoot, that's the one you're going to think of is hoot. I can't do it, but one of my coworkers, she can actually do a great horned owl sound really, really good. But if you go outside at nighttime and you hear that hooting sound, most likely it's the great horned owl. And remember, keep your little animals like your dogs and cats inside, because these guys are efficient predators.
Do we ever have to trim their talons?
You know what? If we needed to, but what we do with him, we actually take his perching, and we have different types of perching that we put in there. Some of it's rough, some of it's smooth, some of it's real skinny, some of it's really large. So that encourages them to go to different perches where he lives in his home. And just like in their natural habitat, they would like land on a different tree or a different limb that have different textures and sizes. We do the same thing. If we needed to, we can actually take him to the vet where we can actually drum his talons if we wanted to. But with him, mostly we don't have to do that just because he takes care of himself pretty well.
How long can owls live?
Owls, unfortunately, in their natural habitat, it's roughly around 3 to 5 years. But in zoos, they can actually live for up to 40 years. So the care that we give him, and he gets basically at our zoo, we give him quail, we give him small rats, mice, and he gets fed all the time. We weigh him once a week basically to keep him on the trim side, just because him hanging out with us, he doesn't have to hunt for his food. He can get a little obese pretty fast. So we actually monitor him each and every day.
Do owls show unconditional love?
Not this guy. Remember, he is an animal that was injured in the wild. So we have a working relationship, and he works, but at the same time, sometimes he'd rather be just left alone. And if he doesn't want to work, he doesn't have to. But most of the time, he actually knows what he's supposed to do, and he loves being outside. He was really excited when I brought him out, and he finally saw the snowy owls. He totally started focusing right on those snowy owls. So that's a good enrichment today that we did, that he got some sensory visual, something that he normally doesn't get to see. And it's nice and windy out and breezy, and you can see that his tufts of feathers are moving in the wind. So this is actually fun. If he didn't want to do this, he would be actually saying, you know what, I don't want to do this, by gripping me really tight or panting and all that. And sometimes he will pant sometimes, but the reason he's panting, remember, it's like having a big old coat on. So if it's 75 degrees inside, guess what? It's like you having a winter coat on. These feathers keep them nice and warm in the wintertime.
All right, so before we wrap up, we just want to give a quick shout out. Today is National Teachers Day during Teachers Appreciation Week. So we just want to give a huge shout out to all the teachers just for the work that you do regularly, but especially right now, because I'm sure having school at home is not easy for all of the teachers. So
it isn't, I'll tell you that. So thank you very much, teachers, for helping us out, and hopefully you guys can use us as a teaching tool as well. We're always trying to think of different ideas that we're doing at the education department. So we're thinking of some online virtual things that we can do and experiences that will help out your students and actually help out your school as well. So hopefully we can come back out and start doing outreach programs and assembly shows at the Akron Zoo. Just cross your fingers, that will happen this coming fall. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great day.